see what insightful questions I was What's going on, guys? My name is Max and I'm a trumpet player based in Ithaca, New York. This channel is all about tutorials, covers, and collabs and much more, so if you're interested in that kind of content, drop a like, follow me on Instagram, and consider subscribing so you don't miss out on future videos. Alright, let's get into it. What is your personal favorite warm-up? So my warm-up generally varies each day depending on how I feel, but there are definitely a couple exercises I try to stick to. I'll normally start with some free buzzing, and then I'll go to mouthpiece buzzing, and then I'll do long tones with lip bends. After that, I'll normally do some low note articulation exercises. So I basically just take Clark 1 that's all slurred and I make it tongued, and I start in the low register and I just go up chromatically from there. And then normally to finish off, I'll do some very relaxed slurred scales with arpeggios going down into the pedals. What kind of trumpets do you play? For my B flat, this is a Bach Stradivarius 37. I've had this since about 8th grade. I'm a freshman in college now. Yeah, I played on a rental up until then, so this was actually my first trumpet I owned. And then for my C trumpet, it's also a Bach Stradivarius. This is a model 229, I think. I got this early high school. Yeah. And then for my D/E flat trumpet, this is a Yamaha model 761. I got this, I think, my junior year of high school to prepare for college auditions. Tips for the upper register. Ah yes, a trumpet player's dream. I've heard and tried many different ways of improving my range on the trumpet, and I've had my fair share of bad habits to deal with as well. But here are a couple things that I felt beneficial that you could try. A lot of my upper register work is done with lip flexibility, and you can refer to my last video where I go more in depth about that. I also practice 2-octave scales. I'm trying to stay relaxed with those. I feel that those are good. You can also practice chromatic exercises in the upper register, so that could be a lot of Clark 1. That's what I stick with a lot. Normally start on like middle C, and then I just go up as high and as comfortable as I feel for that day. I also do long tones. I feel like those are good for many different things. And then I also try to keep my low register pretty solid, because I feel that working on your low register can definitely help in your upper register. Best practice mutes other than Yamaha Silent Brass. So that's funny because I actually use Silent Brass as my main practice mute. I don't own any other practice mutes, but I have heard good things about the Dennis Wick practice mute. Do you believe that anyone can play high notes and low notes on the same mouthpiece perfectly? So I believe that if you're playing correctly and efficiently and that you're using the right mouthpiece for you, you should be able to explore all registers on the trumpet with the same mouthpiece with practice. And now different mouthpieces will definitely give you a different sound. So traditionally, shallower mouthpieces are much brighter and more projecting, so they're better for lead jazz, for example, normally. Deeper mouthpieces will give you a much darker, more full sound, so that's more appropriate for classical and then jazz. So that's why deep mouthpieces are used with flugelhorns for that darker and sometimes fuzzy sound flugelhorn players are looking for. You shouldn't be using a shallow mouthpiece to access the high register. I got into the bad habit of using my Bobby Shoe lead anytime I need to play high, regardless of what the music style was. So you should be using a mouthpiece that's appropriate for this style, but with practice, you should be able to play across registers with the same mouthpiece. In my experience, a more shallower mouthpiece should mainly help with changing your sound in the upper register, so making it brighter, giving you more projection in the upper register, and sometimes it gives you a very slight endurance boost. I know I've experienced that myself. In general, I would recommend that you practice your range on your daily driver mouthpiece. So that might be a 5C, might be a 3C, whatever your daily driver is, and then you can bust out your shallower mouthpiece if you ever feel the need to get one when you need to play in a more appropriate and projecting and brighter style in the upper register. Favorite and least favorite part about playing the trumpet? Alright, I'd say those golden moments when the trumpets are supposed to dominate and project over a full orchestra are what make trumpet playing so fulfilling to me. Least favorite part about trumpet playing, I'd probably say, like, it feels like every time I get over one hurdle in my playing, so one small barrier or sometimes a large barrier, it always feels like relatively soon after another problem comes, and it's in varying severity of problem for sure, but it never feels like I'm at my best 100% ability for a long period of time. So I guess that's frustrating. What would you say is your biggest musical accomplishment when it comes to trumpet? I'd probably say getting accepted into the performance track at Eastman. I know I'm going to Ithaca College, and I'm very, very glad to be going there. I just say this because Eastman was so much more of a stretch to apply for in terms of their conservatory nature and acceptance rate. How do I play high notes with projection? So like I said before, I find that when I need to project more in the upper register, specifically in a lead jazz setting, I'll normally switch to my shallower mouthpiece. Now if you're just looking to get a more projecting sound in the upper register, not for jazz or not for any style that needs a brighter sound, you should work on making sure that your notes are perfectly centered, because when you play sharp or flat on any note regardless of the register, it won't be as open, room filling and projecting as it could be. When you find the true center of the pitch, you'll notice that the sound opens up and fills the room much more. So to work on this, you could do lip bends, so more or less some good old tuner work in the upper register could help with that. How long do you spend on fundamentals? I generally aim for about an hour of fundamentals each day. Some days it's a bit more and some days it's a bit less. It all really just depends on how my chops feel that day and what I think I can get done in a productive and efficient manner. But yeah, about an hour is what I aim for. How do I improve my articulation? I would recommend practicing your articulation slowly at first, and gradually working on increasing the tempo over time. So you want to make sure that the beginnings of your notes are very sudden and clear and that you're not getting any swelling going on. That was a problem I had for a while that I've been working on. You also want to make sure that your tongue transitions are very quick, so you want to avoid a slow, sluggish tongue, because just that can make your articulation much more muffled, I guess. When practicing the articulation exercises, you should also try to avoid thinking about each note individually, because when you do that, your tongue can often get behind your air. So you want to mentally approach these exercises by just playing towards the end of the phrase, and driving your air towards the end, and not thinking about every note individually, because you can get stuck up thinking about that. Assuming it's all online, how are classes going? They're going pretty well. It definitely sucks having to spend my first semester online in college, but I think I'm still learning, so that's good. What is it like studying with Lord Whittick? It's so nice to see my actual trumpet professor actually engaging in my Instagram polls. Lord Whittick, aka Aaron Whittick, has been great, and I definitely feel the value of his teaching despite the educational barriers of being online. It definitely makes me much more excited to be in person in the spring. Go-to soap for trumpet cleaning? So actually, for trumpet cleaning, I just use generic dish soap, and that's worked for me. I bet that there are some trumpet soap brands out there that work fine as well. I just use generic soap, and I know other people do as well. I just use a couple drops, but I think the major thing is just to make sure that the soap has no bleach in it, because if it does, it can be corrosive to the trumpet's finish. How are you doing? I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. Online college is pretty draining at the moment, but it all just makes me so much more excited to go back to school in the spring, if it actually reopens. What gear do you use for your videos? So for videos like these, I'll throw pictures up on the screen. I use a Nikon D3300 DSLR camera, and then I switch between using a Zoom H2 microphone and a ribbon mic, which is an ARC AR5 mic. I don't have an audio interface for the ribbon mic at the moment, so I'm not able to take full advantage of it, but I'm planning on getting one. Favorite jazz tune? I don't have a strong opinion for my favorite jazz tune, but I'd say Star Maker by Joy Hargrove is definitely up there. Favorite song to play on trumpet? I'd probably say Theme for Trumpet by Michelle Mangani. The trumpet melody is so beautiful in it, and the orchestration is put together really well. I heard it for the first time at ITG 2017, and it was breathtaking the first time hearing it. What's the difference between a trumpet and cornet? I don't own a cornet, so I'm not an expert on this, but I'm pretty sure a cornet has the same amount of tubing from mouthpiece to bell, which is 4.5 feet as a trumpet, but the tubing is much more tight and compact, and that's what makes it appear smaller. I'm pretty sure cornet produces like a warmer and softer tone as well, while a trumpet is more direct, it's more bright as well, and more articulated. I'm originally a horn player, but just started playing jazz trumpet. Any tips? That's so cool. I don't know too much about transitioning to or from trumpet and horn, but before jumping into jazz repertoire as your main focus, I would spend some quality time with your fundamentals on the trumpet. Improving your fundamentals on the trumpet will definitely make jazz playing easier and more solid. I'd also make sure that you're not treating the trumpet as a horn. They're completely different instruments, even though they may appear slightly similar, and you may have to learn to approach the trumpet differently than you did the horn. Tips on stamina and endurance while performing. So to boost your stamina, I'd work on making sure that you're learning to play efficiently, and then you're not overblowing at your chops either in a performance or when you're practicing. So when performing, this may mean identifying in the music where you should and shouldn't be giving the music 100% of your energy. In longer pieces, it's nice to trade off with a stand partner if possible. I know I've depended on that in the past, and that conductors often encourage it because it's not always realistic to get through an entire piece by yourself when you don't need to. In the practice room, I would just be making sure that you're playing long enough to accommodate for the amount of time that you need to perform on stage. So if you're playing 20 minutes a day, it may be hard to make it through a 1-hour symphony where you're playing for the majority of the time. All in all, just make sure that you're playing efficiently and matching your performance demands in the practice room. Favorite piece, genre, and composer. So these change pretty regularly, but at the moment I've really been digging Symphonic Dance No. 3, Fiesta. Favorite genre, either probably wind band literature or a cappella, and favorite composer, probably at the moment, Eric Whitacre. Thanks so much for sending in those questions. I always enjoy answering them. Feel free to comment down below any content you'd like to see from me in the future. Also, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.